Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. Chapter 1. The Introduction. The chill of autumn hung in the air, sharp and unwelcoming, as Indiana's rural landscape began its gradual descent into winter. Bare branches clawed at a slate-gray sky, the skeletal tips receding into the distance, barely visible against the heavy clouds. In the heart of a small town named Millfield, a routine day unfolded in the way only an unassuming place like this could manage. People moved about their daily business, a familiar rhythm interrupted only by the distant tolling of church bells. Yet, beneath this veil of normalcy, darkness had begun to seep in, unnoticed. A light mist shrouded the town, giving the streets an eerie. Some residents whispered of shadows that danced between the trees, of an unsettling aura that urged them to remain vigilant as they went about their lives. One such life tucked away in a modest two-story home on Jefferson Avenue contained the essence of routine and familiarity. Linda Everett, a spirited middle school teacher, was preparing for yet another day of imparting knowledge to her students. She was known for her dedication, her compassion, and her infectious laughter. Yet that laughter would soon echo hollowly in the callous silence that awaited her loved ones in the days to come. Linda's absence would be noticed, but not immediately. It would be a slow unraveling, the kind that binds and suffocates a nagging worry, eventually morphing into frantic concern, then into desperate search. Chapter 2. The Victim. Linda Everett was more than a teacher. She was an integral part of her community's heartbeat. Born and raised in Millfield, she flourished in an environment that embraced her nurturing spirit. Friends described her as a beacon of warmth, someone who never hesitated to lend a helping hand or offer a word of encouragement. Her home, decorated with flowered wallpaper and photographs of joyful moments, told a story of love and connection, each frame immortalizing cherished memories with her family and friends. Every morning, Linda rose before dawn. Her routine: she would brew a pot of coffee, the rich aroma swirling through her kitchen, mingling with the fresh scent of the homemade muffins she baked for her students. The bright red apples on her counter were a nod to her lifelong commitment to inspire the youth of Millfield. She taught not just academics, but the art of kindness, a lesson she insisted was equally important. Yet, beneath her vibrant exterior lay an undercurrent of solitude. Linda experienced shadows that contradicted her sunny disposition. A recent divorce had left her grappling with loneliness, the echo of silence more pronounced in her home than in the past. Nevertheless, she poured her energy into community events, volunteering tirelessly and occupying herself with her students' lives, making each of them feel special, seen. But perhaps even Linda, the woman who shared so much light, overlooked the darkness around her. Friends noticed subtle change. Her usual sparkle dimmed, just a fraction, as if dark clouds were gathering, heralding a storm. They dismissed it at first. Everyone has their off days. Yet as the chilling days progressed, they unknowingly crossed the threshold into something far more sinister. Chapter 3. The Crime Scene. On the afternoon of October 24th, 2019, a worried colleague of Linda Everett approached the Millfield Police Department, her brow furrowed with concern. Linda hadn't been seen since the previous Friday, and an urgent instinct gnawed at her gut. With each tick of the clock, apprehension surged, morphing into dread. This moment would set in motion a series of events that would thrust Millfield into the spotlight of a chilling investigation. Officers, alerted by the report, arrived at Linda's home shortly after the call. As they stepped onto the front porch, the air was thick with a disquieting stillness. Like the oppressive calm before a storm, the door creaked open, revealing a scene that presented no immediate indication of trouble. However, a deeper look revealed layers of tension beneath its surface. The living room bore a sense of normalcy. A half-read book lay on the coffee table, and Linda's favorite throw blanket was draped across the couch. Yet the atmosphere felt off, uncomfortable. The officers moved through the rooms, systematic. In her bedroom, clothes were hastily strewn about, the unmade bed speaking of a life interrupted, an absence of the familiar ritual of preparing for the day ahead. When they finally ventured into the backyard, a shiver swept through them, the hairs on the back of their necks bristling. Just beyond the neat flower bed, a plot that Linda lovingly tended throughout the season. Recently disturbed patch of earth caught their attention. An unsettling sense of foreboding settled in. It was clear that this was not merely a missing persons case. In that moment, the officers realized they were crossing into uncharted territory, as the essence of something tragic permeated the crisp autumn air. As they called for further investigation, a cloud of uncertainty loomed over Millfield, ushering in the haunting reality that they were now part of a potential crime scene. Chapter 4. The Early Investigation. As dusk settled over Millfield, the initial stages of investigation began to unfold in earnest. Detectives, joined by forensic specialists, swarmed Linda Everett's home, meticulously piecing together the fragments of her life while seeking clues hidden beneath layers of normalcy. The air buzzed with tension, the hum of radios punctuating the tangible anxiety that twisted through the gathered professionals. They collected fingerprints and DNA samples, documenting every detail from the coffee mug still warm on the counter to the shoes lined up at the door, untrodden since Linda's last departure. Detective Sarah Mitchell, a seasoned officer with a sharp eye for detail, meticulously examined each item in the house, searching for connections and insights that might hint at Linda's whereabouts. Nothing seems out of place, but something feels very wrong, she noted, her brow furrowing with concentration. A small scrapbook caught her attention, filled with photographs from Linda's community events, her smile vibrant and genuine. But Detective Mitchell's instincts warned of a deeper story lurking beneath the surface. This wasn't merely a narrative of joy. Outside, the police canvassed the neighborhood, talking to neighbors who had seen Linda in her final days. Their accounts vary: a sighting during a charity event a week ago, a brief interaction at the local grocery store just days later. Yet no one reported seeing anything amiss or suspicious. Some expressed concern about Linda's recent changes in demeanor, their concern subtly tinged with skepticism, as if they themselves could hardly recognize the woman they once knew. As night descended, pulling Millfield into its shadowy embrace, one thing became abundantly clear. The deeper they probed into Linda's life, the more tangled the threads of her story became, and the more somber the possibilities surrounding her disappearance grew. Chapter 5. Days bled into one another in the stillness of Millfield, each hour marked by the growing desperation of Linda's friends and family as they clung to hope. Despite the diligent efforts of law enforcement, the investigation faced dead ends with unsettling regularity. Every brick wall encountered and every lead followed yielded scant progress, creating an atmosphere that felt as stifling as the encroaching winter. Detective Mitchell sifted through the reports, painting a comprehensive picture of Linda's life. Yet each person they interviewed seemed to offer contradictory statements, adding layers of complexity to the investigation. Friends described mundane encounters, yet each conversation revealed something elusive, as if the town itself was concealing secrets. One afternoon, a lead emerged when a neighbor claimed to have seen a suspicious vehicle parked near Linda's house on the night of her disappearance. Yet descriptions lingered in vagueness: an old red truck from a few days ago. With no license plate information, the detectives grappled with the futility of chasing leads that faded like thin mist. Each painstaking effort felt like an echo, faint and diminishing. An additional complication arose when Linda's phone records revealed unusually muffled communications. Cell calls that hinted at conversations left unanswered. In a community as tight-knit as Millfield, it served as an unsettling reminder that even the most familiar faces could conceal dark motives or hidden grievances. Frustration surged among the detectives as the investigation dragged on. With dwindling leads and mounting pressure, a gnawing certainty settled upon the town. The mystery surrounding Linda's fate was unraveling slowly, as secrets buried deep within the roots of Millfield remained trapped in the shadows. Chapter 6. A break in the case. After weeks of haunting silence enveloped Millfield, a breakthrough emerged with surprising swiftness. It began on a cool November morning, with Detective Sarah Mitchell sifting through case notes, searching for patterns that might elude the harsh light of reason. It was during this routine that a piece of information slipped through the cracks, a tip-off from an anonymous source that hinted at a connection previously overlooked. The informant identified themselves only as Charlie and claimed to have witnessed a confrontation outside Linda's house on the night she vanished. That suggested a heated argument between Linda and a man described as troubled, someone local residents had often seen frequenting the nearby bar, known for its dive atmosphere. The Rusty Nail. It was a stark revelation that ignited Detective Mitchell's instincts, sending her racing back through every interview and every detail documented thus far. With renewed vigor, detectives sought surveillance footage from the bar that could corroborate Charlie's account. After hours of combing through recordings, they finally caught sight of the man's clenched fists and angry demeanor painted an unsettling picture. He lingered just outside the camera's range on the very night Linda disappeared, intermingling with the crowd before abruptly leaving just minutes before the ruckus occurred. As this faceless figure emerged from the shadows of anonymity, Detective Mitchell sought out witnesses who frequented the bar, painstakingly trying to draw connections between him and Linda's work. Each piece of information collected felt both promising and perilous. The undercurrents were sharp, swirling around close, but still held back in the murky depths. For the first time since Linda's disappearance, hope began to mingle with fear. The possibility of an answer felt palpable in the air. But the question loomed. Who was this mysterious man? And how deeply was he entangled in Linda's fate? Chapter 7. As the suspect. As the investigations progressed, the bar's unsettled atmosphere contrasted starkly with the stirrings of discovery that were aflame in the Millfield Police Department. The man captured on surveillance, now identified as Kyle Redding, had previously been a transient figure in the town, often oscillating between the roles of a local misfit and a troubled soul known to frequent the Rusty Nail. Rumors twirled around him like autumn leaves, caught in a gust of wind. Stories of erratic behavior and altercations swirled amongst patrons over poker tables and pints of beer. Detective Mitchell delved deeper, unearthing a history marked by emotional turmoil and past crimes. Redding had been arrested multiple times for disturbances, accusations of assault lingering ominously in his records. Yet somehow he always managed to slip through the cracks. Friends reported that his demeanor had taken a dark turn, leading up to Linda's disappearance, as if a storm was brewing beneath the surface of his tattered persona. On the day detectives decided to confront Redding, the sun hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the desolate backdrop of Millfield. They found him sitting on the porch of a rundown house on the outskirts, a worn-out chair creaking beneath the weight of his uncertainty. His disheveled appearance and sullen eyes told a story of despair and displacement. As Detective Mitchell approached, she noticed him stiffen, instinctively retreating within himself. He feigned disinterest as she posed questions, but an underlying tension lingered, a palpable crackling current in the air as his answers faltered. When she mentioned Linda, his expression flickered, revealing a flash of emotion: fear, anger, guilt, but it was nearly imperceptible, darting away like a shadow before it could be caught. Every moment spent with him felt heavy with latent potential. He became the suspect hovering at the edge of the investigation, the focal point of suspicion and unease. Was he the key to unraveling Linda's fate, or merely another transient figure lost in a web of accusations and assumptions? Chapter 8. The Trial. The courtroom buzzed with a heavy anticipation, the air thick with the tension of shared grief and hope intermingled. It was the fall of 2020, almost a year since Linda Everett's disappearance, and today was the day Kyle Redding would face trial. As the gavel echoed sharply against the quiet eyes darted to the defendant, a man whose presence seemed consumed by the weight of judgment, drawing the focus of the entire room. Detective Sarah Mitchell sat at the prosecution's table, poring over case files and evidence that had taken months to compile. Her heart ached as she recalled the moments spent unraveling the threads of Linda's life and the tribulations of all those who had cared for her. The haunting memories of the community's pain clung to her like a shroud, urging her to deliver justice. Witnesses were called forward, each recounting their encounters with Linda and Redding in hesitant, trembling voices. A friend described the last time she saw Linda. Laughter echoed across the courtroom as she recalled a charity event. But it was met with sobs from Linda's family seated in the front row. Each testimony painted a portrait of a vibrant woman whose light had dimmed too soon, further twisting the dagger of despair into the hearts of those who loved her. As the trial progressed, evidence began to mount against Redding. Tire tracks discovered near Linda's home matched his vehicle, and DNA evidence collected from the crime scene added another layer of damning fidelity to the prosecution's case. But Redding maintained his innocence, his demeanor oscillating between anger and disdain. He repeatedly claimed he was in the wrong place at the wrong timing. Unwitting scapegoat, ensnared in a tragic storyline that did not belong to him. Through the opening and closing arguments, the courtroom held its breath, torn between the whispers of doubt and the suffocating need for justice. As the jury deliberated, the weight of their decision loomed over all present. A pause pregnant with potential could. They deliver a verdict that would finally provide Millfield with the closure it had craved for so long. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. The jury's verdict hung in the air like a storm cloud, as the courtroom anxiously awaited the realization of a shared hope. When the foreman finally announced the guilty verdict, a collective gasp rippled through the attendees. For Linda's family and friends, tears flowed freely, a mix of relief and heartache entwined in their sobs. They had sought justice, and while it arrived, it could not mend the chasms left by Linda's absence. Kyle Redding was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, a decision wrought with the weight of the community's pain. The gavel's final thud echoed like a heartbeat signal that the tumultuous journey through uncertainty had reached a culmination. Yet even as the ruling brought closure, it left fissures in the foundation of Millfield. The events of the past year had ripped through the town like a violent storm, transforming it in ways that would never allow it to return to its former state. In the months that followed, the community sought to rebuild. Memorial services honored Linda's memory, her vibrant spirit immortalized in stories shared under flickering candlelight, the soft glow casting gentle shadows on faces filled with both sorrow and resilience. Her students, inspired by the profound impact she had on their lives, planted a tree at the local school, a lasting testament to the lessons of kindness and compassion she had instilled in them. But shadows lingered, questions remained unasked, and corners of the town hid secrets still veiled in darkness. Though Redding had been held accountable, whispers of his true involvement spiraled, chilling the streets where hushed conversations exchanged fears of unresolved debt. Would the truths buried in the folds of Millfield ever see the light of day? Or had the community now locked itself away, sealing the doors against future vulnerability? The flickering lights of hope and healing danced amongst the anguish, undeterred but fragile, a reminder that even as they faced the aftermath of tragedy, the spirit of remembrance would guide them through the darkness ahead. Life in Millfield would redefine itself, but the echoes of their past would always ripple beneath the surface. Chapter 10. Reflection. As winter closed in over Millfield, the transformation of the town deepened. Detective Sarah Mitchell often found herself strolling through familiar streets, contemplating the events that had transpired and the lives forever altered by the haunting specter of tragedy. Each inhalation of the crisp air stirred bittersweet memories, the weight of loss balanced by the flicker of resilience. Millfield remained united in its sorrow. Yet it was the stories shared in the aftermath that illuminated their shared humanity. Linda's laughter echoed in the hearts of her students, inspiring them to embrace compassion and kindness, while encouraging the community to engage with one another on a deeper level. In memory of their beloved teacher, a local charity drive sought to support youth education, a lasting testament to her legacy. But beneath the surface loomed the unresolved. Redding's conviction brought closure to many, yet unsettling questions reverberated quietly. Had all the truth surfaced, or did darkness still hide in the corners? Detective Mitchell, her heart both heavy and hopeful, continued to reflect on her role in Linda's story, promising to remain vigilant in seeking justice for those unable to protect themselves. As the world reawakened with the inkling of spring, life persisted, weaving a tapestry laced with both sorrow and resilience. Millfield stood, determined not just to heal from the past, but to honor it by carrying forth the lessons of love, vigilance, and humanity, whispering on the winds of change.